The New York Giants, the Tennessee Titans, Atlanta Falcons, Cleveland Browns, Las Vegas Raiders, and Arizona Cardinals have one thing in common, Paige Dimakos. They all need a head coach. And what are we going to do? We are going to rank the head coach and opportunities, the vacancies, right? Like which one will we take? We're going to rank them from number one to the last one. Paige Dimakos, I'm going to let you start with your list first. Let's get into it.
Okay, number one on my list, and this is a job that I didn't anticipate coming open. That's Raheem Morris's job, the Atlanta Falcons job. I think this, with the young roster they have, the young defense they have, how they finished, their culture, when you consider how they already have superstar established players, they finished the year on a 4-game win streak. They don't have a total negative culture that you have to overcome and come in and change, which matters a lot. You're also coming in as a head coach with a new general manager. The timing of that also matters a lot because when you come in together, you often stay together or leave together. It's those times where you have a GM staying and a coach going that end up being poor. So I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons at the top spot.
Okay, I went. Let's go pick by pick. You want to do that, or you want to list?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it pick by pick.
Okay, I went Giants at one. I went Giants at one because I think they have some fundamental pieces there, right? When you talk about defensively, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, they can lead your charge for your defense. And then offensively, see what you get out of Jackson Dart. But you have Cam Scatterbull, Malik Neighbors, who can be a superstar wide receiver, Theo Johnson at tight end, Jalen Hyatt. So there's some young pieces there. And I'm going to go ahead and jump the gun and say at number two, I put the Atlanta Falcons for a lot of the same reasons that you said as far as speaking about what they have there as far as the offensive pieces.
I just like the Falcons core more and the culture thing, right? And they're just also the factor of the Giants being in New York and me really not being bought in on Jackson Dart yet. That's also a factor. I know that he was a guy that had 2 weeks of time where everybody on earth, mostly I'm looking at you, New York, thought he was the second coming, right? But he threw for under 200 yards. It wasn't a sustainable way to play football.
No, it wasn't.
And he has had, obviously there's been discussions. He's been very vocal about how I play football. I don't want to change how I play. Bro, you're going to need to change how you play. Like, you're not going to last. Yeah. And that's, I think he will be fine. There's going to have to be the right coach to make it work there. And most importantly, Joe Sheen still being there. I'm out on that. Yeah. That's my reasoning for being out. That's my reasoning for being out.
Yeah, I'll say what tipped the scales for me was the fact that it was New York, right? Yeah. And you think about the lore, the big city, Big Apple, right? When you win in New York, it's probably one of 4 or 5 places that when you win, you take over the entire country, 100%. Right? You take over the entire sports world. So that's why I put them there. So we flip-flopped 1 and 2, right? Yep. But we both had the same 2 teams.
So I have 2. I have a different 2 than you did. So
you have a different 2. Okay.
The Giants are 3 for me, and I'll give this away. Very similar to what Keith said. I like the young core, but I look at the New York market as a negative and a positive. So that's just a little separate. But number 2, I went with the Raiders, and I went with the Raiders for a couple of reasons. One, they have the number 1 overall pick, so you're coming in and you're going to be able to set the tone of the quarterback that you want for your future right off the top. Second, the GOAT. Tom Brady being involved in any situation is a good thing. I don't care if it's playing volleyball or being outside or whatever the decision-making is happening. If Tom Brady's involved, I'm for it. The other thing, too, is they are number 2 in total cap space available. They have a lot of opportunity to go and change this roster and change it fast. So this team, while obviously this year was a total disaster, I was very surprised to see Pete Carroll. I thought Pete Carroll was going to be given the opportunity to draft a young quarterback and bring him into the future, but it looks like they're not doing that, and I will be very interested to see who takes that job.
Yeah, I actually you have the Raiders at 2. I actually have the Raiders at 3. So we're kind of aligning right there with the top 3. The top 3 being the Giants, Falcons, and Raiders in some type of order, right? Because they all have benefits, whether that's the support staff when you talk about people like Tom Brady, or whether that's the Giants, you're talking about big market, or that's the Atlanta Falcons and you're talking about the offensive weapons that they have. But you know what? That's the good part of this. Yeah. Let's do the back half of this list where it can get a little bit gritty and a little bit questionable. I'm gonna let you go. How about this? You go 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
Let me know who your 4, 5, and 6 is.
I'm going to be honest with you. I wanted to put all 3 of these teams at the bottom at 6. Like, I wanted to just be like 1, 2, 3, 6. right? Because
Right. Bottom.
there's a lot of problems when it comes to all these teams. But I'll give you the quick. I'll start with the Tennessee Titans, who I put at 4. I put them at 4 for a very specific reason. Number 1, in cap space, the ability to go change the roster. They don't have the ownership team just changed how they're going to be doing things as far as organizationally. It seems to make a lot more sense based off of what they were doing the last couple years. And I really like Cam Ward. And the injury was a scare, but it looks like it's not going to be as bad as they initially thought. So I went with the Titans. After that, and I'm splitting hairs here, was the Cleveland Browns. The reason the Cleveland Browns are below them is because they're the Browns, because they still have Deshaun Watson. No matter what, he's still being paid next year. And they have a championship-level defense, which is something that is exciting, and you look at that and you go, okay, this opportunity is big. The problem is they haven't aligned the timing of having a great defense and aligning it with the offense. So this is going to be a big overhaul. The Shador situation is going to be a controversy no matter who comes in. This is just going to be, it's just the Browns. Like, is the Browns' job ever a good job? This is probably one of the better situations, I would say, I guess it's been in, but I also don't like that Andrew Berry's keeping his job because, again, the alignment of head coach and general manager matters a lot. And the last one, very simple, the Arizona Cardinals. And the reason they're the last one here, bad ownership, Kyler situation, and a total disaster in the front office. This has been a bad organization since Bruce Arians left. It's one of the markets that's a smaller mid-tier market, so it doesn't get covered. So there's a lot of stuff that people don't really know or pay attention to. This has been a disaster. Kyler's on year 7 in a contract where they owe him a lot of money, and they benched him for Jacoby Brissett this year. That didn't get talked about enough. It's a big deal. They got a big question mark this offseason, and I would not want to touch that job if I was looking for an opportunity this offseason.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go this. I agree with you that all these jobs are very questionable jobs,
Yeah.
right? And they have to be, when you take those jobs, you have to be in the mindset of, listen, man, this is one of 32, right? When it comes down to taking head coaching jobs. At number 4, we're identical. We match with this. I went Tennessee Titans. I didn't do much of the front office research. I went looking at the roster, right? I went, hey, they have a quarterback. They have a franchise quarterback that has showed some flashes that he can play at a high level in the NFL, right? It's about getting him with surrounding pieces. Splitting 5 and 6, right? Because left for me was the Arizona Cardinals and the Cleveland Browns when it came down to which job would I least want. And I went with the Arizona Cardinals at 5. And I went purely off of location,
I knew
Paige
it.
Dimakos. I'm going to be completely honest
I
with you,
knew
right?
it.
I said Phoenix, Arizona. I said Cleveland, Ohio. And I went Phoenix, Arizona because both of them are equally as bad to me. Both of them, when you talk about franchises, probably have been equally as bad, right? Both of them have a couple flashes in the pans, right, as far as success, playoffs, things like that. But other than that, it's been complete dysfunction. So I went with, listen, if I get fired, where would I want to live for the next 3-4 years, right? Which spot would I enjoy more, being in Cleveland, Ohio in February or being in Arizona in February? And I went with Phoenix, Arizona in February. So I'm going to ask you to do this just so we can give our listeners a complete ranking of both our lists from 1 to 6. I'm gonna list off mine and I'm gonna ask you to list off yours. And then we'll go from that. So just ranking them from best to worst, in my opinion, I went New York Giants, Atlanta Falcons, Las Vegas Raiders, the Tennessee Titans, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Cleveland Browns.
And my list to complete from beginning to end is the Atlanta Falcons 1, the Las Vegas Raiders 2, New York Giants 3, and everybody else. But I'll name them even though I don't want to. The Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, and the Arizona Cardinals. And I agree with you on the location thing with the Cardinals, right? It's hard to imagine that you would want to live anywhere other than Phoenix, since that's obviously where I live. The problem is the Cleveland Browns do have draft capital, cap space. I like Shador, and they got him on a rookie deal. The Cardinals, you're inheriting that Kyler deal. It's not. This is going to be a tricky situation. So strictly off of what it would be to live somewhere. Oh my God, could there be a bigger gap between Scottsdale and Cleveland? Good Lord, that's a nightmare.
Probably not.
No,
Not at all. What was most difficult about making this list for you when you're talking about ranking them 1 through 6?
I think the most difficult part was it was pretty easy for me to identify the 3 jobs that I thought were good jobs. I had a, you know what I mean? Like it's
100%.
It's very rare to have this very stark gap though of the haves and have-nots in a job. Like to have 3 jobs that are what I would consider lucrative or exciting, that can get any of the top candidates to be excited for one reason or the other, and then have a big drop off where the other 3 are significantly worse jobs. That's the part that was most challenging for me, because I really sat there and I went, man, I could 4, 5, and 6. Like, I really wanted to put them all at 6. And I'm not trying to make a joke. I genuinely mean that. Like, these are not easy jobs that you're inheriting. You're inheriting culture that's bad and been bad for a long time. And that's very hard to turn around. It's a lot easier to take over an Atlanta Falcons team that's won 4 games in a row and looked like probably the best team in the NFC South to end the year. And you've got a lot of young talent. You've got a guy like Bijan Robinson, Drake London coming out on behalf of Raheem. And the biggest thing for me was the GM head coach thing. It matters. It matters so much. And so many of these jobs, I was really surprised to see that GMs kept their jobs and head coaches were going, or vice versa. So that Giants job, that was the only thing that kept it at 3 for me, was like Joe Sheen. Like, I don't have faith in Joe Sheen. I don't know why he still has his job. If I was picking between him and Dable, I would have kept Dable. But we will see as we move forward. What was, are you in agreement with me? Do you feel differently? What was the toughest thing for you?
Man, I think it was splitting the attributes, right? As far as like which team, because none of them I think are complete situations, right? Like you feel like, man, step right in and win, right? Because we've had situations in the past where like, look, that team is ready made to make a run. They just need the head coaching situation, right? Like I don't think any of these jobs are potentially as good as the Cincinnati Bengals when you look at, franchise quarterback, wide receivers, right? That type of thing, the way you can hit the ground running. So it was trying to apply, I guess, the same lens across the board and try to be fair, right? Because you try not to give the New York Giants that New York bump. And then, looking at Atlanta Falcons was purely based on a roster. Then Las Vegas Raiders, that's not based on a roster, right? They don't have a quarterback. They are about to trade Max Crosby, right? Like that was based off of potential, but you're kind of betting. Then they don't even have Pete Carroll anymore. So you're basically betting on Tom Brady, right?
Yeah.
But both the Raiders fell at top 3 for both of us. And I think that's because we believe in what Tom Brady will construct because he's seen success at a high level.
Well, there's certain things that you have to have for success, right? And one of them is you got to get your quarterback right. That's the opportunity you have with the Raiders to pick your own quarterback. Second of all, you got to have a young core. The Giants have that. It looks like between Scatterboo, Malik Neighbors, and Jackson Dart, they've got enough young talent alongside some defensive guys that we like. And then Atlanta is stacked roster-wise. They looks like they figured out their biggest issue over the last couple of years, which has been pass rush and their defense, and they've got a lot of young guys who are on rookie deals. So that's the part of this that, quite frankly, I was surprised that the 2 jobs, aside from the Giants job, that I had in my top 3 were 2 coaches that I didn't anticipate getting fired. That's not on accident.
Right. I'm going to follow up with this question, and we'll wrap this conversation up with this question. We know that head coaching opportunities are tough to come by, right? But when you get that head coaching opportunity, it could be your first and your last. So I'm going to ask you, if you were a hot shot offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, right? Well, you were the number 1 guy. You were the Ben Johnson last year. Are there jobs on here that you're like, you know what? I'm turning it down. Like, there's no way if they call me that I'm answering the phone for this job.
Yeah, I'm not taking the Cleveland Browns job. Like, I'm just not doing it. And I think it's because of a variety of factors. They got a lot to clean up. And I don't think it's going to be cleaned up until you get out of that Deshaun Watson deal. And the fact that the general manager responsible for doing that deal still has his job is also very concerning to me. In tandem with, we know what the Shador show is and what it comes along with, which is riding the highs and lows and the extra amount of, and then on top of that, Cleveland. This is just a bad organization. It's been a bad organization. There are a couple of places that I just wouldn't go. The Browns and the Jets, I'd be like, yeah, I'll wait till the next coaching cycle to see what the opportunity is. Very similar to Ben Johnson when he was given the year prior to him taking the Bears job. He was up for a lot of those jobs and sat that one out and said, hey, I'm going to wait and see. Because when you're a hotshot candidate, if you believe in yourself and you know that you can come in and I get it, you're not always going to get an opportunity. I never fault anybody for taking a job, but it's pretty hard to think that anybody can turn around what has been bad organizations like the Jets and the Browns. So, yeah, I would never pick up the phone if Cleveland called.